Yes, today our focus is on formulating a clear title for social science research project. So how do we go about formulating a title for our research projects or study? So this is the focus of today's video, and I hope it will be very useful to each of you. So before we can go further, I would like to as a form of culture, remind you not to forget to subscribe to the channel so that more videos may come your way as they become available after creation. And also give a thumbs up in case the video was helpful or was of more important to you and your project. And also share the video to other researchers and other fellows who are doing their research projects or studies. And that is part of caring, as I used to emphasize or say in the previous videos. And more importantly, should you have any clarity seeking question or a comment, you are more than welcome to put it on the comment slot in the channel for further discussion and engagement. So in my introduction, I want to emphasize few key things that need to be considered or bear in mind as you construct your project title. So one of the key things is to ensure that readers understand what your project is all about as they go into the content. And after reading the title for the study, they must understand what they must come across, or what they will come across as they go through the content of your research report or proposal. One key important thing is to understand what your study is all about. Generally, the coverage and the scope, so that you can cover that also in your title as it becomes necessary or important. Understand who is your target population or the target institution, so that you are able to cover the context for your study also in the title. And the other thing, or the other question to ask yourself is, what is the scope coverage for the study? Are you covering the whole world? Are you covering a country? Are you covering one institution or a government department? What is your scope coverage? And the other element that may need to be covered under your research title may be your problem. So key elements in your problem statement may be covered in the title of the study, so that you are able to also present the phenomena as you construct your title. And the other question is, what is your assumption about solution attached to the problem of the study? And this, to me, it will assist you with regard to constructing one of the variables and putting it there on the title of your study, so that it can show the phenomena as related to the other variables, which is dependent. And the other question is, what are the key concepts and phrases in the study? And this should also reflect in your title as part of each or either of the variables. And what are the key variables in the study is another thing which I'm trying to emphasize, to say your title may best be constructed from the variables of your study, both dependent and independent. And the last thing is to focus on your subject area. You cannot research about crime if you are not in that subject area. Maybe to give a simple example, if you are focusing on medicine, then crime may be irrelevant to you unless if you customize it to interdisciplinary, to say crime in healthcare service sector, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just giving an example, but there are many more examples that we may think of so that you may refocus your title for the study. The other key elements is to, especially those things that you may need to avoid in the title, is the abbreviations or usage of abbreviations in the title, because those may reflect or may come in the content or even the abstract where necessary. Even if in the abstract they may not be recommended, because your abstract also does not need to be too long or very long. Repetition of abbreviations and full statements may make your abstract very long as well. So this may come, the abbreviations may come into the content, especially from your introduction and background. And more importantly, ensure that the title reflect positive impression to gain, that will enable you to gain interest from readers. So your study must be interesting. It must be not, it must not make readers discouraged to proceed with reading as they start from your introduction or background. And the other thing which can motivate or pull the interest from readers is the trend, focusing on the current trends in the field of your study, rather than focusing on the olden mode of operation, olden days mode of operation. So you need to focus on, for example, the current trends in technology, in the field of study, and the mode of doing things. A good title normally does not exceed 21 words, so your title does not need to be very long. It needs to be short and straight to the point. And you may need to avoid unnecessary phrases, especially those suffixes such as investigation of, a case study of, exploring. So these are just a few examples, but I know there are many more examples that you may think of. And most of this may come out in the purpose statement. So you may reserve them for purpose statement so that you can put them as a suffix in the statement that present your purpose for the study. And the third title is normally expected to take a declaration form, or may be presented in a form of declaration than conclusive and the other way around, or descriptive or explanatory. But sometimes it takes a question form or is presented in a form of question, but that is very rare that it is presented in such manner. And one need to be careful when it comes to constructing the title in a form of question, because your title must talk to the content and must lead the reader to the content. Considerations. What do we consider in constructing a proper or a reasonable or sound title for social science study or project? There are several things that the researcher or the scholar need to bear in mind. Like some of the things might be maybe touched on the introduction, but just as a form of emphasis, one may need to revisit them. The title may need to be short and to the point. As I said, in most instances, scholars are recommended not to exceed more than 21 words in a title. And your title must connect to the problem and the background to the study. Otherwise, if it does not connect, it means your study is just scattered or haphazard and is not focused, or you have more than one study in one, because your background, your title, and even the problem statement is talking different languages altogether. And your title may also need to reflect part of key research problem and tentative solution. Like I emphasized in the introduction, you need to focus on presenting the context, more especially using the two variables, which is dependent and independent variables. Title must cover at least both dependent and independent variables. And you must provide the phenomenon and the context in your title. And in some instances, scholars make mistakes by providing or putting a full stop as if the title is a sentence or is a statement or description or explanation. So in case of the title for the study, there is no need to put a full stop. Title must be in a title or heading form, not statement or description or sentence or explanation form. So this is just to emphasize things that you need to consider when it comes to compiling or constructing a proper or clear or sound or a reasonable title for the study in social science research. Again, title may need to be short and to the point. What do we mean when we say title should be short and to the point? So you don't need to put your title in such a manner that it's like you are giving a description or prescription or explanation. Here I provided two examples of title that is short and to the point, and that one which is more like description or explanation. As you can see, I tried to mark each of them as correct and incorrect. You can see the first one is marked with a cross to show that is the one that is not supported as a proper or good title for the study. And the second one was marked with a tick or a right to show you a good example of a title that may be considered correct or as good or as correct to the study or your study. So maybe as a form of assisting you, I can read through and interpret both titles. The first one, which is marked incorrect, read as follows. Management of records and archives in the government of South Africa to prevent theft, provide access and support administration by ensuring that all records are always available and accessible. You can see this title is a form of like explanation, if not a description, or is just a statement rather than a title. But looking at the second one, which is marked with right or a tick that shows correctness, it reads as follows, and you can differentiate, and I believe you will agree with me that this is the correct one comparing to the first one. Management of records to support business continuity in the National Department of Health, South Africa. So this can be considered a good example of a title, research title in social science research. I hope the two examples assist in clarifying you about what may be acceptable and what may not be acceptable, what may be good and what may not be good, what may be clear and what may be confusing to the readers. for your project or your study or your proposal in social science research. Again, title should connect to the problem and background to the study. And what do we mean by that? So there is an explanation that I provide that here that your title must talk the same language and stories spoken in your introduction, background, and problem statement, as well as the purpose and objectives. Like I said in the introduction, your study does not need to talk different languages from different sections. So the same language that you speak on the title must be the same language that is spoken in the introduction and background, and as well as the problem and many other elements or sections of your study. So we must not, for example, find the title talking about vehicles, and when we go through the introduction and background, you are talking now about the horses and donkeys and so forth. And going down to the problem statement, you are now talking the birds and all the other things. So you can relate that in all the three sections, the focus may not be considered the same, or the direction does not show same direction. And you can agree with me that those elements shows different studies in one. And maybe to avoid that, your title should connect to the problem and background to the study, as well as other sections of your study. Title may need to reflect part of key research problem and tentative solution. This I already emphasized in the introduction to say you need to have or provide context and phenomenon in your study. And you must have two variables, which is dependent and independent variables, which will present your phenomenon. What exactly is the problem to your study, and what do you, as a researcher, suspect or assume may be appropriate solution, although the study may prove any hypothesis wrong or right at the end? So obviously, the researcher will be suspecting certain solutions as an expert in the field or in the area of the study. Almost or always when one see a problem relating to the field, something will trigger in the mind to say certain things may be utilized to solve such kind of problems. So that can also assist you in constructing a proper or reasonable title for the study. The other fact is that title must cover both dependent and independent variables. And I think this is connecting to the previous slide about what I was talking about. And in this instance, I would like to emphasize that management of records to support business continuity in the National Department of Health, South Africa, it can be provided as a good example. You can see that in this instance, we have independent variables as an example given there. Management of record can be an independent variable or can be considered independent variable. In this case, I'm trying to give examples so that you can relate to the real situation of recommended or appropriate title for the study in social science research. And again, you can see that business continuity is considered dependent as a dependent variable, as pointed there. So in this case, the title sound clear and complete and to the point, and more importantly, very short. Title must provide context and phenomena. This I also introduced in when I started with the video, to say your title should provide both phenomenon and context. So in this example, I want to point out or show what may be considered the two. The first thing, phenomenon, as you can see, management of records to support business continuity. That is the phenomenon for the study. And going down, you see example of the context. This happened at the National Department of Health in South Africa. So this is another example that I can provide. The other fact that need to be considered as you construct your title for the study is that title must not have a full stop. In most instances, you find scholars or researchers making a mistake of putting a full stop at the end of the title, which is not necessary. So in this case, I gave example as my demonstration actually was actually focusing on pointing out those kind of errors. You can see the full stop at the end of the title, which is not necessary and should be or may be avoided. Title must be in a title or a heading form, not statement or description or sentence or explanation form, like I emphasized in the introduction. A title is a title and must be in a title form. It is not a statement, it is not a description, it is not an explanation. So it need to be in such a manner that it is in a format that can be identified as a title. Example here I provided: the National Department of Health in South Africa must manage record to support business continuity. This, to me, and I think to you, if you can listen carefully, it sounds like a description or a statement. It does not sound like a title. That's why I've put cross there to show that it is wrong. But going down, you can see the other title, which is marked with tick or a right, which read as follows: Management of records to support business continuity in the National Department of Health, South Africa. This sounds like a clear and to the point title, which is very short and focused. Thank you for watching, and as I said from the beginning of the video, please don't forget to subscribe so that you can get sensitized or alerted as new videos becomes available. Also like or give a thumbs up in case you like the video or the video assisted you in one way or another when you construct or compile your own title for the study. And also give a comment or a question or a clarity seeking question in case you have such in the comment slots, so that you can trigger further discussion with other researchers, other fellows, and myself included as well. And more importantly, share the video for further knowledge sharing with other fellows across the globe, so that we do not benefit alone out of the video. If it is of great interest to you and you believe that it can assist somebody who is on the same project or on the same activities as you. Thank you very much and have a lovely afternoon.